Hey y'all, welcome to the Realm of Comics, where we discuss everything that is manga, comics, graphic novels, and I'm here to do my mid-month wrap-up. Now, in the past, I haven't done these wrap-ups. I've done the weekly vlogs, but it's been a busy month already, and so I was not able to capture much, if not any. I captured some footage, and then I was like, yeah, I'm gonna scrap this because this is just not gonna even be long enough to even constitute a vlog. So I decided to come in and we're gonna do a mid-month wrap-up. Now, I have already read probably close to like 37, 38 things this month. You know, you always start off strong. You always start off strong in the beginning of the year because you want to reach your goals and do all the things. But I have not been reading as many graphic novels, comics, and manga. I'm not sure why that is. It's not that I haven't been reading them, but not as intensely. And I think I am just trying to find something that's going to... Well, that's not true, because I read something last night. Not last night. I read something a few nights ago, or a couple of nights ago, that really sparked my, my joy. It sparked my joy. So far I've read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've read 5 things so far this month, and we're gonna go ahead and talk about them, and hopefully I'll have a little bit more to discuss as we get closer to the end of the month. All right, so the first one, go ahead and jumping right in. The first thing that I ended up reading was Rise of the Shadowfire. This is City of Dragons book 2. I read City of Dragons book 1 back in like 2022, I believe, because I think I did like a week-long like graphic novel and comic reading vlog or something like that on my other channel, and that was around the first time when the first volume came out, and then the second volume came out last year, but unfortunately I was on hold for it and it took me a while to get into it. So it's kind of weird because I can't really tell you much about this specific volume because it is the second volume, but the premise is that we have a main character who ends up moving overseas with her mother and her stepfather, and there is some mysterious connections that her father has that she doesn't know about. She's presented with this dragon egg, and this dragon is very important to the whole entire course of this graphic novel series. My hiccups with this second volume, I gave it 3.5 stars, is that it takes so long to get into the groove of reading this one. I loved all the characters, the character development, the friendships that we see, and I thought that, the artwork was still great, but it moved very, very slow. I was surprised how long it took for some stuff to start happening, which is not what I'm used to with it being a second volume in a series, right? In the first volume, I'm looking at more exposition, like, we're getting some character development, we're getting introduced, especially if it's fantasy, we're getting introduced to the world. But in this one in particular, by the time we get to the second novel, a lot of that stuff should be established. And I felt like for a good chunk of this volume, we were spending time doing nothing. We were talking about the problem, but nothing was actually happening, which is unfortunate because I think I gave the first volume 4 stars. So I'm hoping that with the next volume, which I don't think the next volume is going to come out until either later this year or early next year, I'm hoping that we start with some full-blown, fire-packed, interesting action type of situation. The next one that I read was absolutely marvelous, and I'm so upset it took me so long to read it, and that is My Happy Marriage. I read volume 1. This one has content warnings for emotional abuse, physical abuse, parental neglect, and death of a loved one. This is a light Cinderella retelling. It is definitely like a historical romance, and we are following a main character by the name of Mio, who is treated cruelly by her stepmother and her stepsister, and is completely and totally neglected by her father. I was actually kind of shocked because usually in the Cinderella retellings, the dad has passed, and the Cinderella and her father have or the person who's supposed to be like Cinderella and the father have had like a great relationship. This is not the case. So in a twist of events, he cares so little for his own child that he ends up marrying her off to the Kudo clan, where the the guy is known to end engagements in like 72 hours. And he knows that if he was to end the engagement, she's pretty much ruined and she'll have nowhere to go. She'll end up on the streets, essentially. And he does not care. And I was like, oh my gosh, what a horrible, horrible parental figure. But when she gets there, our hero Kyoka kind of notices that there's something different about her. And it's not one of those, oh, I'm not like the other girls. Like, she has been conditioned and trained not to believe that she's worthy of love, not to believe that she's of any value to anyone, to anything. And it's so gut-wrenching, but you could tell that he sees past that. He doesn't really understand like what exactly has happened in her background, but he knows that some stuff has changed because she's very like subservient, and we're not talking like a sub-dom relationship. She works as a servant and not someone who comes from a well-known household. I am so interested in seeing how their friendship evolves and eventually, transpires into a romantic relationship. This does have like fantastical elements where people have different gifts and powers, which does play into the plot. So this is like a historical fantasy romance, which not what I was expecting at all, but I really, really enjoyed it, and I already have volume 2 checked out. I gave this one 4 stars on Goodreads, but I keep thinking about it, and I think I'm gonna bump my rating up to 5 stars, to be honest with you. So the next thing that I ended up reading was another one that I can't really tell you much about. This is ridiculous because I read a lot of sequels so far this month, but I did end up reading Villains Are Destined to Die volume 5. Now this is a manhwa series that I've been really into since last year. I am finally all caught up. Volume 6 does not drop until next month, which I am super excited for the release of the 6th volume, but for right now I am caught up on everything, and oh my goodness, y'all, this volume was intense, and I feel like the series gets better like every single volume that I pick up. Like, I love the artwork, I love like the political intrigue, and like there's some potential like romances, because the whole premise of it, I could tell you the premise of it is that there is this heroine who, she was playing a game and she gets transported into this game, and in her own, it's interesting because her own, like her real life on Earth very much so mirrors this game. And in this game you have a main character by the name of Penelope, who is adopted by this duke, and he has 2 other sons, and the whole purpose of the game is to like, you could play on a couple different levels, but the way the storyline goes in the game is that Penelope is like horrible, and she is kind of there because the duke is missing his daughter, and eventually his daughter comes back, and the way that the game plays out is that she ends up dying. Penelope, well, she's reincarnated as Penelope, and so now she's doing everything that she can in order to stay alive. And so she kind of flips the game on its head, where it's like her kind of doing a 180, and Penelope's personality is completely different than what people had expected, considering like what would have been like previous gameplay. It's really, really, at first I didn't think I was gonna really like it, because I was like, oh, okay, you transported into this game, and now you're playing the game, and literally there are scenes where like she has options to do like A or B, or she has to complete a task or a mission. But it has gotten super complicated. It has gotten very, very complicated, and there are several characters that she has to keep like their affection meter, she has to keep them up, because if they get below a certain point, then she'll end up dying. And so she's like striving to keep everybody at a certain baseline, and then she's trying to figure out like who should she invest her time in terms of like pushing up their affection meter. That way she'll be safe whenever the real daughter does make her reappearance, so she doesn't end up dying. This volume was pretty intense because of what had happened in volume 4, in terms of like a situation that happened between her and the crown prince, and it kind of comes full circle in volume 5, and I feel like the political intrigue in this one was on a completely different level, and you can tell like how intelligent this heroine is, because she has to really kind of put parts of the puzzle together and figure out, like, you know, in terms of like logic and strategy, how could this possibly work out in my favor? Like, who's pushing against me, and how can I play this out that way I am rewarded when it's all said and done. It's really good. I'm enjoying it. Like I said, another great installment in the series. I still haven't gotten across like a 5-star one yet. I'm checking. Yeah, I still haven't come across a 5-star one yet. I really enjoy the series, but I need that one volume that's gonna like blow me out the water. But I still gave that one 4 stars. After reading that, I ended up reading the Unfamiliar Volume 2, so another sequel, where I can't really tell you much about this because it literally directly picks up off of Volume 1, which Volume 1 focuses on she's a kitchen witch. She's very, very good at cooking, and she ends up going to this different town, and she gets this house, and this house is essentially haunted, right? And she's doing the best that she can in order to like make sure that this house is no longer haunted. And so she's helping the restless spirits and trying to assist them in being able to figure out what their needs are so that they can move on. And in doing this, she meets like a whole host of different characters and their familiars, and I think it's really, really cute. This one had a touch of a sapphic romance in it. There was a twist in it that wasn't like completely unexpected, because the creator kind of threw in a situation that had you thinking in one direction, but actually it was in a completely opposite direction. But I really enjoy it. Like, at first, when I first like read it, I wasn't that into the art style, but now I'm accustomed to the art style, and I think that the art style really, really matches the feel and vibe of the graphic novel. This is a great one to read in October. I almost wish that it would have been October when I read this, but I was also on hold for this one, waiting for it to come in. And so I'm just now getting around the time to pick it up. But it is a perfect like October graphic novel. If you like spooky, witchy type of vibes, then that would be a great one to check out. And I believe I also ended up giving that one 4 stars. Yeah, I did give that one 4 stars. And the last thing that I ended up reading so far this month that I actually gave a 5 stars to was She Loves to Cook, She Loves to Eat, Volume 3. I really, really love this volume. I was blown away and mesmerized by this volume. I really like this series in general. I think this series is just really, really great. It's 2 main characters. One really, really loves to eat. The other really, really loves to cook. They're neighbors, and they end up building this friendship that clearly is turning into something that's a little bit more. But there's these like great conversations about like identity and, you know, figuring that out even into adulthood, like not knowing like how you feel about certain things until you become much older. There's a lot of great conversations about like found family, and one of the key things that I think I had seen for the first time when I read the second volume of this one is that the mangaka included content warnings, which was so new for me as someone who reads manga. I'd never seen that before, and it was the same thing in this 3rd volume where we're seeing some content warnings for some tough conversations, because both of our main characters are dealing with families that are not really the greatest, and it really impacts, or it has impacted, like how they see themselves. And so it's nice to see them actually like find some solace within each other too, like that found family type of aspect. But we also are introduced to 2 new characters in this volume who are like the perfect fit. Like this group, these 4 humans, them together is the combination that I did not know that I needed. I think that they're such a great support system for each other. They are like, man, it was kind of like an emotional read. I couldn't even get my words out for that. But it was kind of an emotional read for me because I was not anticipating the amount of like love and like positive vibes and like the way that they would pour into each other, and the mangaka like taking time to emphasize the importance and, you know, of found family, recognizing found family as being a thing for a lot of people, whether, you know, you are a part of the queer community, or whether, like, you know, we have a character who's dealing with some issues. I don't want to say issues, but perception of food. It dips a little bit into possibility like eating disorder stuff, but not really at the same time. And so we're, you know, thinking about like perception of food and body image, and, you know, having people not support them through that, and walking into these groups of friends who are just like, okay, like, it's fine, like, we're not here to judge you, we're not here to ostracize you. Like, just seeing each character deal with their issues, and knowing that when they, you know, go back to their friends, they're safe, they feel comfortable, they feel like everything is going to be okay. Like, this volume really touched my soul. It definitely would be one of my favorites of 2024. I thought it was absolutely beautiful. Like, first 5-star graphic novel manga comic of the year, and I'm happy that it was, because it was, and I can't wait for volume 4. I can't wait. All right, y'all, in the comments down below, let me know what you ended up reading so far this month. And as always, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content from me, click this subscribe button. If you're looking for ways to follow me on social media or ways to support the channel, all the links will be down in the description box below, and I'll be back with another video soon.